Hi, I'm Theron DesRosier.
I'm Nils Peterson.
And I'm Gary Brown. We're with the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at Washington State University. We work in the Office of Academic Effectiveness. Now when nearly every student is living media-saturated, digital and co-located lives, using their cell phones, iPods, Facebook, or even learning management systems. And they're using digital technologies that intentionally or not distribute them and others across time and space. We are therefore approaching a time when all courses and all learning is essentially distance learning. The implications for educators, as they are in the so-called real world, are far-reaching and profound. At the same time, higher education is under increasing pressures to demonstrate accountability, and even accreditors are questioning the value of standardized tests and cross-institutional comparisons. The September 2008 report from the Council of Higher Education and Accreditation, Chida, noted that for the first time, accreditation may include different standards for different institutions or programs, as established by the institution. The recognition of institutional diversity is a recognition of the need to individualize, deepen the conversation among stakeholders, and do more to promote activities like internships, community-based and senior projects, activities faculty, students, and employers value, and yet that often elude traditional measurements. With this pressure is the need to respond to employers' expectations. Boeing has implemented an internal ranking system tracking employees back to their colleges. It's not a coincidence that Boeing's senior vice president, Richard D. Stevens, who is a member of Margaret Spelling's Commission on the Future of Higher Education, said that his experience sitting through many meetings of the Commission listening to long discourses by education professionals helped him realize that Boeing would have to take action on its own. He says assessment needs to be about improving the dialogue on curriculum performance and how we can build a stronger relationship between the colleges, universities, and us.
The shortcomings of standardized or traditional approaches to assessment, like the collegiate learning assessment shown here, do little to encourage the stakeholders who can make a difference, that is, the students or faculty. They're not really provided any insights in the ways to improve. Our hypothesis is greater engagement with faculty, students, and those who may be in positions to hire our students, regardless of physical proximity, will provide more feedback, the core of good assessment, than a disassociated test like the CLA.
The research project we did, therefore, was to introduce our industry partners to the WSU critical and integrative thinking criteria, 7 distinct measures that sum to define key components of critical thinking.
We used internet technologies to present student team projects online. We also used the critical thinking rubric online to guide the feedback and the assessment. And then we invited professionals from 10 different organizations, essentially. And we invited faculty in the program, and they worked together to develop the criteria, and they worked on this project recursive over time, over the term of 1 semester. We also asked the students to rate their own work and to rate the projects of others. It was this strategy of harvesting the expertise, feedback, and advice that is the core of the assessment and shapes the question of our research.
Meriem Chida was the instructor for this course. Her goal was to engage global industry leaders to prepare her students to be professionals in a very competitive global market, and more importantly, to gain awareness and experience with what it means to collaborate and contribute in that context. How do learning and performance expectations differ across populations? And how do they differ in particular when we compare expectations in school with the expectations in the profession and in the real world?
What we found confirmed our suspicions. We collected data using Washington State University's critical thinking rubric, which has 7 dimensions: problem, perspective, other views, data, context, conclusions, and communications. This graph shows the results of the faculty scores of the student work. We compared that with the industry scores. Industry was somewhat harder on our students than our faculty were. Students also evaluated one another. Peers were easier on one another than the faculty were, and the students were the most optimistic of their skills when they rated themselves. Then we computed the overall averages for the 4 different groups Students at a little over 5 on the 6-point scale, faculty just barely over 4, where the competency level is at 4, and industry rating our students as slightly below competent, slightly less ready to enter the workforce.
In addition to the assessment we did with the critical thinking rubric, we also asked industry professionals categorically, would you hire these people? They reported that the improvements from midterm assessment to end-of-term assessment were substantial, and 6 of 10 groups by term's end demonstrated work that was equal to work at entry level.
We assessed the quality of feedback, but more interesting was the tag cloud analysis we did to get a better sense of the quality. Among the many differences, industry professionals were much more likely to talk about market and market-related issues. Faculty were more focused, if not loquacious, when pointing out issues of analysis and when pointing out student errors.
There's much to say about the implications of this work. At bottom, our research findings challenge many traditional assumptions. We are all understanding now that more than ever, learning and assessment is, or should be, social. It benefits from the insight and diversity of broader engaged community. Expertise is distributed. It is not monolithic. Assessment and assessment criteria, as Wiggins has long argued, should not be a secret. Students' energy, creativity, and their learning should not be held hostage by a classroom or coddled with promises of someday in the real world. Intellectual capital is mistakenly recognized as a noun. Intellectual capital is a gerund. It is learning, and it is most valuable when it's plural. We learn.